Hi there, I'm Kathleen Jasper, and today we're talking about Praxis Core Grammar. This is part 1 of our 3-part grammar series, and in this part, I talk about the structure of the exam as well as phrases and clauses and punctuation. Let's get started. On the Praxis Core exam, they combine your multiple choice and your writing. So they combine the essay and the multiple choice. And so what that means is you can do really, really well on the grammar and that'll help you in the writing, or vice versa. You can do really, really well in the writing and it'll help you with the grammar. The best situation is to do well on all things so that you get the best score possible. So some of the things that we go over today about the grammar are going to be really, really helpful for you for the writing and vice versa, making sure that you have all of that, okay? We are talking about the multiple choice section, and this is going to be 40% of the exam. So it's a big chunk of the exam. Remember, I said selected response is just a fancy word for multiple choice, A, B, C, and D. The Praxis goes through A, B, C, D, and E. Goes all the way to E. So you have 5 answer choices to pick from, which can be a little bit difficult. Sometimes the fewer choices you have, the better. In this case, you have an extra choice than on most tests. So when you see this here, you'll notice that I have some things highlighted in pink. Today, the famous pink. On Wednesdays, we wear pink. Or do we say on Tuesdays, we wear pink? Well, anyways, in the specs here, we're going to go through these all highlighted in pink here. So in terms of grammatical relationships, now really most people just know this as grammar. They think it all as grammar, but we're going to talk about pronoun, antecedent, agreement, and you may be like, wow, I don't know what that is. You will figure that out when we're done. Pronoun, number, and person, and subject, verb, agreement. These 3 things here are on almost every single grammar assessment. And if you can figure out some of the tricks for just these 3 bullet points, you can answer tons and tons of questions, okay? Now on the structural side, on the structural relationships, we're gonna go through phrases and clauses in a sentence, okay? We're gonna talk about different phrases and how to talk about that. We are also going to look at misplaced and dangling modifiers there. We are also going to talk about coordinating conjunctions. Coordinating conjunctions are also called fanboys. Fanboys, all right? And we're also going to talk about parallel structure. Now, all of these bullets are part of the test specifications. Today in our presentation, we're just going to talk about these 3 on this side and these 4 on this side. We're also going to talk about word choice, all 4 of these here. We're going to talk about idiomatic expressions, frequently confused words, wrong word choice, and redundancy. Those are pretty easy to spot. And we're also going to talk about punctuation, commas, semicolons, though you will be assessed on those. And I actually forgot to highlight this in pink, but we will have an apostrophe one as well. And so those are the things that we're going to cover today. They're all kind of mixed into different questions. So let's get right into the questions so you can see what I'm talking about here. So here's an example question from our book. This is what it will look like on the Praxis. So let me talk to you about this type of question. First of all, you're going to get the sentence that they provide you with here, all right? And there will be a piece of the sentence or the entire sentence underlined. And you have to fix whatever is underlined. It's called identifying and correcting errors. Now, there may or may not be an error. Remember, sometimes no change is necessary. On the Praxis Core, A, in terms of these types of questions, where you have A, B, C, D, and E running down, these, A will always be no change. Okay, so if you know that, that saves you time. Some people don't know that, and they read A. You know, they read this sentence here, you know, the actual sentence you're looking at. And then they go in and they look at A, and they try to figure out, okay, is A the correct answer here? And so this is always going to be no change. It's going to be the exact same thing that was given at the top, okay? So you don't have to read A. B, C, D, and E are all revisions of whatever is going on in the sentence, okay? So A is always going to equal no change, and everything else is going to be some sort of revision that you can do there, all right? So let me erase this so we don't get confused and pretend like we are sitting for the Praxis Core exam. And this has come up here. So we have the board of directors are having their meeting today. Now I put up here, this is going to test your pronoun antecedent agreement and your subject verb agreement. This is actually hits 2 skills, okay? This one's a difficult one, so E or D. So let's take a look. So A is always the same. The board of directors are having their meeting today. Now, the first thing we need to do is identify whether or not, what is our subject, what is our pronoun, what is our verb. So in this case, we have the board of directors. Well, a lot of people hear this S and they think it says the directors are having their meeting today, okay? And if it were the directors are having their meeting today, then it would be correct. But we're not saying the directors are having their meeting today. We are saying the board is having their meeting today, okay? So the board is one thing. It's called a collective noun. It's actually a singular noun, okay? So we want to make sure that we are making the proper subject-verb agreement. And in this case, we have the board of directors are having their meeting today. The board is the singular, and are would be incorrect because you wouldn't say the board are having their meeting today. You would say the board is having their meeting today. Now, we have this other option. So in the answer choices, we have A is no change. We know that's out because there's something wrong with this. B says the board of directors is having their meeting today. Well, we've got this correct. The board is having their meeting today, but we have this there in there. And the there is problematic because the board is one thing. And this brings us to the pronoun antecedent. So there is the pronoun. Okay? The board is the subject or the antecedent that the pronoun is talking about. Well, in this situation, we have a plural pronoun and a singular noun that we're talking about. So we have pronoun antecedent disagreement. Okay? So that is a problem. So B is out. I know it sounds weird, but there is not correct. It should be its. There, to make it singular, should be, doesn't equal its, should be its. Possessive, not it is, it's possessive. So the board of directors is having its meeting today. Now, the reason why they put these on the exam, so this is going to be the board of directors is having its, is and is, singular, singular, singular. The board is having its meeting today. Now, most people, when they read, like even letter C, let's look at C. The board of directors are having a meeting today. Or D, the board of directors are having its meeting today. D sounds weird. Or B, the board of directors is having their meeting today. A lot of times people will choose B because it sounds correct when you say it out loud. The board of directors is having their meeting today. It doesn't really sound that bad. Or if I said the board of directors are having their meeting today, you wouldn't think that it is a problem, but it is. The board of directors, the board is one. It is one thing. It is having its meeting today. So make sure you pay attention. Here's a trick. If you see the word, let's go back to this original here. If when you get into a question like this here, and you see the word there, slow down and locate your subject. They are testing your pronoun antecedent agreement, most likely. And they're probably putting this sneaky prepositional phrase here with the S, because you're hearing, the last thing you hear before the verb and before the pronoun here is you're hearing directors are having their meeting today. But directors is not the subject. The board is the subject. Of directors is the prepositional phrase. Okay? And so essentially we could take that out right here and say the board are having their meeting today. No, it should be the board is having their meeting today. All right? So that hits two things. The pronoun is there, and then are is the verb. So we hit subject verb agreement, the board is having its meeting, and pronoun antecedent agreement. The board is having its. The pronoun its was changed. Okay? All right, let's go to the next question. In the next question, we're going to be talking about phrases and clauses in a sentence, coordinating conjunctions, and errors in punctuation. All right, so our coordinating conjunctions are called fanboys. All right, these are what you might hear sometimes in your class as fanboys. So fanboys stand for and, nor, but, or, yet, and so. Most of the time on this exam, the fanboys that you're going to see are but, and probably a little bit of so, and maybe a little bit of or, maybe a yet. You probably won't get for or nor, all right? So these are the ones you're going to see, and you're going to see it in this question here. So let me get rid of those. Those are called fanboys. It's just an easy way to remember coordinating conjunctions. And the reason why it's important is because coordinating conjunctions are often used with punctuation to separate pieces of the sentence. So let's take a look at this right here. Now, here we go. Here's another one where we have an underlined portion of the sentence. We know that A is going to be no change. So I don't have to read A. I know A is going to be just a replica of whatever is on the sentence. So we have, he knew he would get in trouble for skipping school. He did it anyway. And I have a comma right here with he did it anyway. All right. So what we want to do is we want to see if this is correct. So the first thing we want to do is figure out, where are my clauses in this sentence? I have, he knew he would get in trouble for skipping school. That's an independent clause because it's a sentence. He knew he would get in trouble for skipping. Sentence. I could put a period there. It could stand on its own and it would be fine. Okay? Then I have this over here. He did it anyway. Now, this is also an independent clause. He did it anyway. I could capitalize that H, put a period at the end of anyway, and we would be good to go. You would be able to do that. That would be grammatically correct. The problem is I have this comma here. This is what we call a comma splice, and I know it's kind of small there, but that actually is a comma. Let me go ahead and draw it in there. So this is what we call a comma splice, and a comma splice is a bad thing, okay? It means that you've separated two independent clauses with just a comma. So one thing I want you to remember is that commas are weak. Commas equal weak. And this is an error in punctuation, okay? So in this case, we have a comma there. It's called a comma splice, and it is incorrect. So right away, I can take A out. Commas cannot separate two independent clauses. Independent clauses are full sentences on both sides of the comma, and they're big, and they need strong punctuation to hold them. And so the comma alone is not enough. So a comma splice is incorrect, okay? No, we cannot separate two independent clauses with a comma. However, I can separate two independent clauses when I connect the comma, which is weak, with a coordinating conjunction or a fanboy, comma, and. In this case, I can separate two independent clauses with the comma and the and here because that is strong. Coordinating conjunctions, fanboys on their own, also cannot separate two independent clauses. This is also incorrect. The coordinating conjunction on its own, no, you cannot do that. You have to add the comma. So it's almost like the coordinating conjunction on its own, the fanboy on its own is weak, and the comma alone is weak. So you have to put them together to make them strong. So in this case, anything that just has the coordinating conjunction can also be out. So B and C are out because look, I have a fanboy here, but no comma. I need a comma fanboy in order for it to be strong enough to hold. Now, let's take a look at this semicolon here. Semicolons are strong punctuation. Semicolons can separate two independent clauses without any other help. Okay, so let me show you that. Let's say that this right here, instead of a comma there was just a semicolon alone without a fanboy. Semicolons work alone. That would be correct. He knew he would get in trouble for skipping school, semicolon. He did it anyway. That would work perfectly fine, okay? So what we want to do is look for any answer choice that is just the semicolon. Where we have a problem here is attaching this but to it. Never, 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 never use semicolons and a fanboy. Never. Because semicolons don't need fanboys, okay? So we can cross that off and cross D off because semicolon fanboy is incorrect, and that leaves us with E, all right? He knew he would get in trouble for skipping school, comma, fanboy, but he did it anyway. So we are doing a few things in this particular question. We had to figure out where our phrases and clauses were in the sentence. In this case, we have two full independent clauses. We have he knew he would get in trouble for skipping school, and then we have he did it anyways. Both are independent clauses. The next thing we saw was coordinating conjunctions, because here they are, but, and. These are all coordinating conjunctions. And so we know that we need comma, but, comma, and so we were able to eliminate on that. And then we have errors in punctuation, which this comma all by itself over here is an error in punctuation. Also, this semicolon next to the but is an error in punctuation. The missing commas here and here are also errors in punctuation. So you have to have all three of these things going on in order to do well on this particular question. So be on the lookout for that. It always, always helps to be able to identify independent clauses, because once you do, you know that only certain things can connect to independent clauses. You can do a comma, fanboy, you can do a semicolon, or you can do a period, capital letter, and then put the period on the other end of the other sentence, okay?